Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. For a while, Project Gotham Racing was the premier Xbox exclusive arcade racer. The first PGR was a launch day success, and the sequel would use Xbox Live in some of the best ways on the console. As the series moved on to the Xbox 360, we would get Project Gotham Racing 3. I'm a massive fan of the first two games, and I replayed this one recently to see if it holds a candle to the other two titles. Today, I'll give you some history, tell you how I felt about it, and give you some lasting impact. All footage was captured off of an Xbox 360 except when noted, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop into this one. The story of Project Gotham Racing dates back to 1987 when Martin Chudley started Raising Hell Software as a solo studio. By 1994, the studio had evolved past solo-made games and became Bizzare Creations and hired multiple people. They made a few F1 racing titles for PC and PlayStation and a third-person shooter named Fur Fighters. The most important release in this video's timeline is Metropolis Street Racer. It's a Dreamcast exclusive racing title that was received well and has fans to this day. It also introduced kudos points, which rewarded you for stylish racing, a critical element that would make it into Project Gotham Racing. With the Dreamcast's failure, they approached Microsoft, which wanted a port to the Xbox. Yet they wanted to take the core mechanics and make something new from them, and that is how Project Gotham Racing was born. Both the first and second were well-received racing games and essential Xbox exclusives, especially if you loved racing titles. They both took arcade racing with a stylish point system and did excellent jobs with them. They were fan favorites, and the second one had Xbox Live support, which included leaderboards and downloadable content. After the 2003 release of Project Gotham Racing 2, it was time to look to the horizon for Xbox's next console, the Xbox 360, where this entry would be a launch title, just like the original. In an interview with Games Radar, Martin would say, "I think we felt that as Project Gotham Racing 3 was going to be a launch title for Xbox 360, that going down the supercar route was a good way to show off the next generationness of the game and console." A lot of focus would go into the game's visuals, as many outlets like Official Xbox Magazine and IGN would gush over its E3 reveal in 2005. IGN even ran an article about how this photo caused a stir because people thought it was a real picture and not from a video game. Some exciting elements like the game's focus on supercars came up. The most game-changing idea in 2005 was Gotham TV, which would allow you to watch other racers online, something unimaginable on a console before this. Like Martin said, this game seemed to be pushing the idea of a next-generation racer. And on November 22nd, 2005, Project Gotham Racing 3 would launch alongside the Xbox 360. Though not the only exclusive racing game of the bunch, with Ridge Racer 6 also releasing, it was looking to be a star title of the launch lineup. I have played this one before, and I remember loving it. I played this one in 2020, close to before I started this channel, but it's been a while and I've covered every other PGR title here, so I thought why not return to it and give you my feelings on it today, breaking it down starting with the gameplay. Project Gotham Racing 3 is a sleek game all around. It matches the next-generation HD aesthetic that was getting hyped up in 2005. Right from the outset, the menus are much cleaner in design. It's simple to move into whatever you need from Gotham Racing TV, multiplayer, or single-player. Nowadays, you're going to spend most of your time in single-player as Gotham TV is closed, and multiplayer is troublesome, at least online, but we'll get into that later. One of the few negatives about this game is that it does feel much simpler than Project Gotham Racing 2. The second entry had loads of menus and leaderboards tracking and tons of tracks and cars to look through. It may sometimes feel chaotic from its menus, but having all that info there with easy Xbox Live connectivity feels excellent, and it's easy to use once you get it. This entry takes a more straightforward, user-friendly approach where you have few selections and you get to race. The easy leaderboard view and simple car selection feels like a step back, but this is more of a comparison issue. On its own, the menus are fine and it's quick and easy to manage. It's not a detriment by any means, I just would have preferred something a little more robust. As for racing though, I have zero issues with it at all. In single player, you move from Las Vegas, London, New York City, Tokyo, and Nürburgring in Germany, doing various challenges. Most of the time, it's racing against other computers, which is excellent, but what makes this franchise stand out as much as it does is the different game modes that you need to do to unlock more races. There is cone mode, which is one of my favorites, where you need to keep a streak weaving between the cones. You have hot laps, one where you have to hit the speedometer at a certain speed. There's eliminator, where you can't be in last when crossing the finish line. You have a passing challenge, where you must pass a certain number of cars before the time runs out. This amalgamation of game modes makes PGR so addictive and full of variety. Sometimes it can get tiring just racing in other games, but you have so much more to do here. The kudos system also helps with this, making the racing game more than just driving a car around. You have to be stylish too. When you pass players cleanly, perform drifts, go at high speeds and other parameters, you get scored in kudos. In a way, it's a bit of a risk and reward system. The more you perform these maneuvers in a row, you get a multiplier. But if you hit another car or a wall, you lose that multiplier. So you can either keep performing moves to get a higher final kudos points, or you can stop the streak to earn those points. You want kudos so you can rank up and get more cars. Kudos is a system that has been around since the beginning of the series, and for a good reason. It's a blast to use. It makes the racing feel so much more fun and arcadey. Not only are you maneuvering, but you're also managing your score. When you hit a great streak in a row, it's gratifying. Getting the highest score in the leaderboards is excellent, and the online score leaderboard still works today, so you can still compete to be the best. The tracks are impeccably designed here too. They take these vast city areas and craft different routes with nodes at each intersection. It makes it so you can see many of the same places, but the layout can be wildly different with varying difficulty levels. The tracks always feel wonderfully laid out and are fun to race through. The handling works in hand with the tracks because it's pitch perfect. Acceleration, braking, turning, and drifting all feel slightly different on each car, yet are all handled very well, and it's not a simulation approach. All of them are easy to pick up and play. The handling was excellent before, and continues to be great now. But this is where the franchise has reached its controls peak. Controls are right on perfect, and the sense of speed is strong here too. This entry mainly focuses on supercars, so you will be speeding around in some top-of-the-line models like Ferrari and Lamborghini. It doesn't have many generic cars to use, which is fine, and I never felt like I was missing anything. You can view all your cars in your various garages. They are set up for you to look at in first person. It doesn't add much to the game, but it's a nice way to look at your cars. The biggest part of the garage is adding Geometry Wars 1 and 2 for play through an arcade cabinet. Both are excellent games and are wonderful additions to this package. One other complaint I have about this game is the loading screens. The time between selecting a race and getting to it is pretty long. It's not so long where it feels like you're wasting your time, but it's long enough that it's annoying. It creates downtime, so you can't just go for back-to-back races as quickly as you want. Load times are necessary though, and they don't take away from the gameplay. The gameplay is the same great stuff as the last entries, polished to another level for the next generation. The racing and all the great game modes are entertaining, and I don't think there's a single bad moment. I think the menus are streamlined and the load times are a little long, but seriously, those are more nitpicks than actual problems with the game. The gameplay here is excellent. Project Gotham Racing 3 does come with split-screen multiplayer and online. It also launched with Gotham TV. Here you could watch replays of other people's races and live races, a revolutionary feature for the time. Watching replays has become a standard feature now for a little bit. Unfortunately, this feature was shut down in 2010 and is no longer accessible. The online is still available though, with leaderboard support, races, and other various modes. Unfortunately, I attempted to play online with a group not long ago, and we all had trouble connecting to each other. I think it's still possible since I've seen a few races on YouTube of people playing, and I think there's a Discord community, but we were unable to make it work. I'll blame it a little on age because this is an almost 20-year-old game at this point. There's still plenty you can get out of split screen though. You have your usual street race and eliminator with solo and team settings. You also have cone capture that has you hitting cones to gain points. You also have capture the track, which means you capture parts of the track for your team by getting the fastest time in each section. All are fun racing modes, and if you have some buddies to race with locally, it's worth checking out. My favorite part of the package is the Route Maker, which lets you select from the nodes in each city. Here you can craft your own layout for races. So if you want something huge encompassing every road in New York, go for it. Or if you only want a block in Tokyo, that's up to you too. It's a fun way to add a bit of creativity to the racing experience with friends. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching, and if you enjoy it so far, please consider leaving a like. This helps my video out in the algorithm. Also consider subscribing if you haven't already to keep up with more videos like this one. Also, since I've covered every Project Gotham Racing over the years, do you think I should compile all the videos, or do you think I should do a mass retrospective? I would compile all my reviews, but if you go back to those old videos, especially my first 2 reviews, they're a bit rough with the audio and they're unscripted, like a lot of my early stuff. So let me know what you think in the comments, and let's go ahead and hop back into this review. For a launch title coming out in 2005, Project Gotham Racing 3 is a stunning game. If you want a game that showcases the power of what was next generation at the time, this is it. I remember playing this at a kiosk around launch and being blown away by what I saw. This is still an impressive and good-looking game to this day, and you can tell that lots of work was put into getting details down right. You can race in 5 locales, and the backgrounds are gorgeous in this game. The only city I have been to of the bunch is Las Vegas, and this game captures it perfectly. I feel like the others should be just as accurate, but racing in Vegas has to be one of my favorite racing experiences. The bright lights from all the casinos reflect off your car, seeing the accurately designed places like the New York, and Paris casino go by. All the billboards and back roads are impeccably assembled, making it a fantastic place to race. All of the cities exemplify their persona, from the sprawling New York with lots of grays to the bright lights of Tokyo. The layout and backgrounds of each features tons of detail. The tracks look excellent and the lighting is all perfect for crafting an incredible atmosphere. The cars look incredible too. Reading the developers' diaries, they seem to have put a lot of time into making sure the vehicles were detailed and had tons of polygons in their design. You can tell this in the game's first-person view, which has an excellent cockpit design for the time. For me though, the most impressive part of the car's design is the reflections. The lighting from the sun or artificial lights is gorgeous on the cars. As you pass by, the reflections move on your car, showing so much attention to detail. Project Gotham Racing pushes the series forward into the next generation, and it looks excellent while doing it. The audio in this entry continues with the trend of greatness from the other parts of the game. The sounds of the cars are all accurate as usual. If you play racing games, you know what to expect. Cars revving and accelerating all sound accurate and well done. Trust me when I say you can tell a racing game with bad car noises because it's usually annoying and repetitive, but here it's all well done and dynamic. The tires screeching on drifts and the hits when you impact a wall are all there and everything sounds good. The best part of the sound design is the sound of getting kudos points. The chime you hear when you end a combo and while you're keeping a combo up is music to my ears. Something about the satisfying feeling of earning kudos creates the sense of accomplishment and makes it even more special. It's a small detail, but it makes the gameplay much more addictive. The soundtrack in this game rocks too, with a wide selection of genres and artists. You will have something here if you have a specific taste for one genre. For me, I gravitated towards the dark electronica, which features electronic artists like Square Pusher and Aphex Twin, and if you feature either of them, I'm in. The other electronic station is fun here too, with LCD Sound System and the Chemical Brothers. Rock has some fun picks like Block Party and Death Cab for a Cutie. I'm also scratching the surface here, since the soundtrack is robust with hip-hop and J-pop. Classical music is always a nice touch in a racing game, and I also think throwing in Bhangra music is a unique touch. I always enjoy a racing game with a nice variety of music. It helps make the gameplay more varied, and they knock it out here. Project Gotham Racing 3 is just another fantastic entry into one of the best racing franchises in gaming. It exemplified what a next-generation racer should look like by being one of the best early Xbox 360 games and keeping the arcade fun of the originals. The handling is perfect, and all the tracks are fun to race on. Load times and simplification make it so it's not the best of the series, but even so, it's still an excellent racing game. It's non-stop fun, and if you like racing games, you're missing out if you never played one of these. Since I've reviewed all of these games, I'd say the franchise never had a single miss since the beginning. On my ranking list of Xbox 360 games I've reviewed on the channel, Project Gotham Racing 3 ends up at number 3 out of the 20 games I've covered so far. It goes above Prey simply because of the replayability factor. Prey is memorable, but this game was hard to put down. Project Gotham Racing 4 is above this one because I do think it's the better entry. It's a cleaner, upgraded version with more variety. Ranking up the franchise, I would put the first one at the bottom. It's still fantastic, but it's the most basic. Then 3, which is the following most basic, but looks incredible, and is a step up from the original. 4 goes in at the second spot because it's a fantastic entry with motorbikes, a sleek look, and a fun non-linear setup. Yet number 1 definitely is Project Gotham Racing 2. It's one of the best looking games on the original Xbox, has incredible handling, and its use of Xbox Live is one of the best examples of using the service on the console. PGR2 is a close to perfect racing game for any arcade racing fan all around, though you can't go wrong with any of these games. Project Gotham Racing 3 received positive reviews upon its release. It holds an 88 on Metacritic. IGN gave it an 8.8, and they called it a must-have launch title. Even though it was very similar to PGR2, it didn't need to fix something that wasn't broken. GameSpot gave it the same exact score with an 8.8. They love the in-car view and the sense of speed and music, but the load times were rough. In January 2006, official Xbox Magazine gave it a 9.0 and an Editor's Choice Award. They thought the graphics were incredible and the career mode was fun, but they thought it was lacking on cities and tracks. The game sold well enough to garner a Platinum Hits release later, and many would call it one of the best 360 launch games. Bizzare Creations at this time would make a few Xbox Live Arcade games like Boom Boom Rocket and Geometry Wars. By 2007, the independent model of the studio wasn't working, and though they approached Microsoft, they were ultimately sold to Activision. It's an unfortunate route we've seen too many times in these lasting impact sections. The 4th entry in PGR would be the last, even though Martin would say in an interview that Microsoft was starting to become overbearing. They would go on to do a few more Geometry Wars, The Club, and the Bond game Bloodstone. One of their last games would be Blur, a fast-paced arcade racer with a successor feeling to Project Gotham Racing. Unfortunately, this would be the game that would shut down the studio, with Activision citing that due to the commercial failure of Blur and due to economic factors, they were going to shut down the studio, ending an incredible gaming legacy. It's not a sad end though, as many developers on that team would go on to found Lucid Games, which has made many hit games, including last year's Jedi Survivor. Luckily nowadays, I still see people bring up this series, and it's well loved by racing fans. Many people in my comments want this series to be backwards compatible or see a new entry. I could never find a definitive fan favorite looking around at various Reddit threads and forums to determine which of the Project Gotham Racing games was the favorite. People do like the 3rd one though, and some cite it as their favorite. On the user aggregate website Backlogged, it is the worst rated of the 4, holding a still high 3.4 out of 5 with over 300 plays. Some in the comments don't like it, but most people seem to have good memories of it. This one from research seems to be the most forgotten one, but it's still an excellent entry in the franchise. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like. Comment below with your favorite game in the Project Gotham Racing series. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. And I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.